On this episode of Cigars and Sea Stories, Mike and Sebastian welcome Mr. Chase Milsap. Chase is a Marine officer, Green Beret, veteran, and storyteller. He served 3 combat tours with the 1st Marine Division in Anbar province, Iraq, during 2006-2009. He then served 5 years as a U.S. Army Green Beret, leading counterterrorism missions to Asia. He is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and is currently pursuing a master's degree from the University of Southern California, where he is developing the policies to empower the new greatest generation of returning veterans. He is the co-founder of the Ronin Refugee Project, which could be found at roninrefugeeproject.org. It is a nonprofit organization that provides support to wartime allies. To wartime allies turned refugees. He recently produced The Captain's Story in collaboration with National Geographic to highlight the struggles faced by America's wartime allies. Chase has written about veterans in transition. One of the books is titled, or one of the writings is titled, Losing My Mind for America, and Attention Veterans, It's Not Them, It's You. He is painfully finishing his first novel, End State, which he believes for some means legacy, others opportunity. To those fighting in the wadis and streets, it means survival. So I'm quoting him on that one. We'll get into it later. When he is not trying to save the world, he enjoys hiking in the hills surrounding Los Angeles with his wife. How do you pronounce that? Mila, yeah. And dog Koa. You can follow Chase on Instagram at cmilsap05, and that's Charlie Mike India Lima Sierra Alpha Papa 05, or Twitter at cmilsap05 as well. So, and again, check out roninrefugeeproject.org if you are listening along on your mobile device. So, fellow Marine, kick-ass warrior, doing awesome stuff for those of us who serve together with IPs or Afghan police or all of these Afghan army folks who are out there. You are doing awesome, awesome things and bringing those warriors home. So allow me to say it is an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. So welcome.
Oh, I appreciate that, guys. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, long introduction to say, I like helping vets. I like helping people that helped us. And happy to be on the podcast with you guys and sharing war stories. So thanks for having me.
Well, hell yeah.
Kill. So, all right. I first stumbled across your video because, actually, I didn't stumble across your video. Shout out to Wendy. Wendy forwarded me your video. She's a fellow Marine who lives in the same county as me in North Carolina, knows what I'm up to around here, and forwarded that link to me. So thank you to her.
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. Appreciate you passing the word.
Right. Saw the net, Geo. I mean, isn't it funny how the world works? So
it is.
And immediately needed to reach out to another Marine who was hooking and jabbing in the trenches. So tell us about the Ronin Refugee Project. How did this thing get started and everything?
Yeah, so, I guess I'd start with this. It's been about a decade since I deployed to Iraq, and if you had told me at the start of it that I would be in a nonprofit, trying to found a nonprofit and running it on refugees and making films to do that, I would have told you you're crazy. I had no idea that this was all going to come about, and there's no plan when you start to think about this kind of stuff. And so, really, the Ronin Refugee Project has come together. Sort of a collaboration with myself and some other some veterans, both Marine and Army guys, who realized that our experience overseas was a little bit different than what we've seen before. We worked on MIT teams, PIT teams, BIT teams. For those you don't know, those are the training teams on the advisory mission, and we worked with a lot of really good guys, that are straight up war fighters, that have been in multiple battles and over the last couple of years, some of us had kept in touch after we left overseas and came back and started, tackling problems here at home. But when things kind of got bad over the last couple of years, you had a few that reached out to. One that reached out to myself was a really good friend of mine that I had worked with on 2 deployments when I was in Iraq.
And this is the captain.
This is the captain, yeah. So the captain had actually saved my life as a boot second lieutenant who knew absolutely nothing on what was going on. Anywhere, within, arm's distance of where I was at any time. And, within a matter of months of me being in Iraq, this Iraqi guy saves my life. And I'm like, whoa, okay. He seems like a pretty decent guy. All right. Now we start becoming friends. And then, in pure sheer irony, a year later, kicking and screaming, I get assigned on a mid team, and I get over to Anbar up near Al Qaim, and then, they're kind of doing the assignments, and they're like, all right, Milsap, you're going over here. You're going to be, working with this guy, and it's the same dude. It's the captain, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Here I am. Now I have to train him how to fight wars. Okay, yeah, I got this. And it instantly turned, just from being a sort of friendship, it became a brotherhood. I mean, this is a guy that had been fighting, with us since 2004, was absolutely committed. One of those guys that would, you look at him and say, hey, we got to go right now. He's like, yeah, how many guys you need? Never really that, oh, I don't have time. I'm too busy. I'm doing sheer patriot. And he and I, were made a pretty good team with all the other mid-team guys we had on there, and did a lot of great work while we were there, and turned it over. And he ended up doing a lot of the same work with other mid-teams. And so we found that there's others out there that have served with the same guy who were like, no, this guy's a rock star.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it extends, just that individual thing. You're like, when another Marine that I've never met is like, yeah, that dude's really good, I'm like, okay, we're on to something here.
Yeah. A lot of people don't necessarily understand that these individuals are, as you had said, they're warriors, and they are there in the thick of the fight. They don't necessarily have high-speed, low-drag training, but they are there and well committed to the mission and have looked death in the eye numerous times before. So you come in with all of this hobnobbing gear, if you come in there and you establish that rapport, oh, man, your life is gold. You know what I mean? Because I was an advisor in Afghanistan at Kajaki, and I know what you're talking about, brother. These guys are committed in the mission.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you, and I believe in the beginning, the original email that I sent over was in regards to Abdul Hadi. And he was the sergeant major for the police unit that we were with. He was only about 10 miles away from his family, but they've been separated for over 6 years.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Because he's been fighting the whole time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And he can't go into Taliban country because his wife and girls will just be done.
Yeah.
And they were doing the push up. So we had flown down and given him all this intel, but we said goodbye for good. I don't even know if he's done with the push and all of this other stuff. You know what I mean? And that was back in 2011. Yeah. But it's crazy. Yeah.
It's totally crazy, man. It's one of those things that's like, and I can remember, most of us do, remember that leaving, you shake each other's hands like, hey, good luck. And I personally generally felt like, hey, we're leaving Iraq much better than when I first came. And wow, this is, things are bad, but they're not as bad. And, you've got this. And, to my surprise, to get a phone call literally the day I was walking into school, kind of starting the next phase of my life, like, hey, brother, I need some help, like right now. Yeah. And, what we did, I know I didn't realize, and probably some of the other Marines out there is, you work with these guys and you treat them like Marines, right? Like, I don't care what your issue is today. Like, we're working, that it's time for mission. Like, nothing else matters. And it really didn't hit me until I actually heard him talk about his family. He's like, hey, it's not me, it's my family. They're going after my family right now, my kids. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, yeah, I never thought about it like that. And I can only imagine, for one of our guys to be overseas, hooking a jab in the fight and to get a phone call like, hey, we're going after your kids right now.
Right.
And what are you going to do at that point? It's like, hey, guys, I got to go. Sorry, I'm out. And that's that's where it really gets into this kind of gray and really tough, issue of refugees. Is like, and a lot of times, yeah, it's some of the older people that are being forced to flee the threats, but at the end of the day, it's families and kids that are really suffering. And that's quite honestly why we did the movie. I was trying to work with this guy and with the captain, and I thought it was going to be a pretty simple process. Like, hey, there's refugee agencies out there. Yeah. Just get to this country, and they're going to take care of you. The system's there, right? And we found that just wasn't the case at all.
All right.
Yeah, nothing works like you think it's going to work.
Right.
And he got himself to Turkey and finally got his kids with him, and was like, hey, I'm at the back of the line. I mean, I have to wait till 2022 before they're even going to talk to me.
Right.
He's like, what do you want me to do for 6 years? I'm like, oh, man, we got a problem. And we looked at it and said, well, all right, is it safe? And he said, yeah, it's relatively safe. I said, all right, we're coming over. We're going to come see you. We're going to come tell your story.
Well, and what's great about that, because you mentioned the families, especially the very beginning of that video, that short, it's relatively short.
Yeah, that's like 24 minutes or something. So,
yeah, and the very beginning of it opens with those children.
Yeah.
And the family and everything. And I'm like, what in the hell is this about? And by the end of it, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's, which is what, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what you want people to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going out on a limb here.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons, that's typically like my, I don't see a video of a poodle doing corkscrews in the yard or something and then post that on my Facebook timeline. I have to go, holy shit, by the end of the movie, or that is a goddamn shame and a disgrace, in order to post it on my Facebook page. Those are pretty much my criteria right there. And that video, that Nat Geo did, nailed it. Like, you guys going over there have some balls. So, anyhow, I commend you on that.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah.
It's one of those things that, like, the team that did it, and to be, fully disclosure, when you run into, just like any business, right? When you run into, problems, you reach out to the people that you know. My brother actually happened to work at National Geographic, and I came to him with this idea and said, hey, can you think we can do this? And he looked at me and was like, one, you're crazy. And two, yeah, we can do this. And he's actually, he's got the different brain than I ever would, and did a lot of the shots on that and made the piece that just looks, looks really great. But at the end of the day, it tells the story. It's like, these people helped us and stood by us when truthfully we really needed it the most, and now they're kind of sitting out there in limbo, waiting right. for help.
That's a shame.
Yeah, the video idea, and I'll kind of go quickly so we can move on, but it wasn't one of those things that's like, we should do a video. This is the only way to solve it. I was literally thinking through all the things that we did while we were in Iraq on the mid team, and there was one guy that just fell in love with an Iraqi dog. There's always that guy, right, on the team, and you're like, that thing is disgusting. I'm pretty sure I just saw it eat trash, but you're in love with it. And one of the guys did.
Dogs are filth, man.
They're disgusting. They're absolutely disgusting.
But did you serve in Afghanistan also?
I didn't. I was only an Iraq guy.
Okay, Afghanistan, they've got patchy, nasty dogs that live like feral off in the hills. But if they're a farmer's dog, they're well taken care of and a member of the family.
Right. Right.
It's totally different.
Because they're around your children and you eat around them and, like, basic hygiene stuff.
Right.
But this guy ended up getting this dog in Iraq, and he got it over to, I don't know how he did it, but he got it over to the United States, right? This nasty, mangy dog. And there literally was a camera crew waiting for it in San Diego when the dog arrived, and all this thing, and then, like, just great little, vid about it. And I remember thinking about that when I was looking at the problem for the captain. I was like, if we can do a video about Iraqi dogs and get them over to the United States, or just to get them safety, then we can definitely do it for a man, And one of the things I found was, like, in a lot of ways, our system isn't set up. It just doesn't treat people that are, really in need of protection the same way that we do other things. And it was just one of the things that sparked it. Was like, wow. Sometimes we got to take a step back to think about, wow, and make it a human side and say, hey, this isn't a refugee. This isn't a wartime ally. This is my brother. Oh, and if you want to call him a coworker, call him, coworker, whatever is going to make it, make it easier to digest. But, this is someone that needs our help. And that's what brought us to the project. And that's what we're doing now. So,
well, interestingly, I mean, the not old adage, but when people watch a movie and a dog dies, they're like, oh, but people die in movies and they're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of bleeds over into how we view other people. I mean, that dog that came over probably got this big sob story TV crew like going through, but here's a person that risks his life every day alongside of us, and it's like, yeah, but there's a line in front of him.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's exactly it. And I think a big part of this is telling that story to say, hey, these, saying, hey, this guy stood beside me, and what that means, and and also the fact that I left Iraq in 2009, and after 3 years of my deployments, which I look back on and we're like, wow, that really drained me. But this is a guy that was older and had kids and a family, and that kept fighting for years after we had left. And it's like, wow, I mean, these guys just keep going.
Yeah, that they've had one hell of a time over there.
Yeah, and sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's just I'm like laughing to myself and needed to mute the microphone because some of these guys, man, like I'm remembering some of the cops and I'm flipping through some of the photos here on my own screen, just kind of thinking about these guys and training them and stuff. And you have a full swath of people that go in between, like, for instance, rifle marksmanship training. I trained all my cops on their AK-47. We went through weapons handling qualification, blah, blah, blah. Some of them, the kneeling position was more stable if they squat.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just a natural position, right?
Right. And I'm like, there's no way. And we would call it the Haji squat. It's when you just like flat foot and then you squat straight down. They throw elbows into the pockets of the knees, square up, bing, bing, bing. I'm like, dude, are you freaking serious, right? Whatever, dude. I don't care. There's no order on that. You know what I mean?
Totally. It is funny too, and I won't mention any names here. But there was a time when the Iraqi army, at least from where I was at, that was getting a lot of flack because they kept having NDs, negligent discharges, all the time, right? It was just like the running joke, like they're just waiting to shoot somebody or us or whatnot. And there came a point during as the years came out that a couple of months running, there was actually a Marine battalion that had more NDs than the Iraqis around there.
Oh God.
Oh my God, it was so bad. And thankfully nobody got hurt. There wasn't anything stupid, but it's like, when you put a bunch of young kids around guns, like things happen.
Right.
And unfortunately, sometimes it goes very poorly. But it was one of those things is like, no, a lot of these units were so well trained, albeit different, right? Like they're squatting instead of down in the kneeling. But, at the capability where they, in the small unit level, it a lot of times it's really hard to see the differences. They're just so well trained, and it's because a lot of the Marines and advisors and former Special Forces guys and whatever that worked on and spent their years training these people. It shows. They got the team up from little league to the varsity team really fast.
Yeah,
and a lot of hard work went into that.
Yes, it definitely did.
Yeah, I mean, you can speak to that. I can imagine Afghanistan was a beast. Training these guys.
Well, we were unique in kind of our setup because we were thinking about doing a range out near them. They had a cop shop out in the Ville. We basically had an abandoned sector in between our fob and then the outlying villages. And there was a few different pieces of higher terrain there. there was nothing really secure that you could really use as a range, and the Russians have been using it as a landmine, minefield forever, and so we're like, okay, maybe we could do the LZ, and so we would go over and we would talk to the red tabs. There were like 8 red tabs. These poor bastards were just, they were basically 50-50 running logistics missions.
Right.
And and so we would just roll in between air, and we used pallets for targets.
Nice.
So if anything blew over, it was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, no big deal. Drive on.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was those, God, they're probably, I don't even know what type of helicopter they are. They were flown by Russian pilots, which I thought was ironic. But they look like bubbles, to be honest with you, the bubbly looking cargo aircraft. And that's what we would move all the logistics on. And these Afghans would get like refrigerator boxes full of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Totally.
So,
like, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Yeah. They'd all come from Korea or whatever.
Chase, you had something to say?
No, go for it. I can follow up.
Oh, I was just going to change the subject, so that's why I wanted to.
Yeah, no, let's do it.
Well, I was going to see if you had any lighter note, like hilarious stories, because every jarhead has one or a million. So
you guys really kind of stunned me when I was trying to think of all my hilarious stories. Like, half of them, I was like, I can't tell that. I can't. There's no way I can do that. And there's two dynamics. This. Yeah, I know. Well, and there's two dynamics of it, right? Like, okay, so I was on the officer side, the SIR side. There is still a part of the Marine Corps where it's like, oh, the SIR's fine. He's got it under control. Which in reality, you're like, dude, I can't believe I even made it in today, right? Like how did this happen? And you guys know that, but I will tell you this: there's two funny things. I'll tell a story. My story is really about myself and being literally the stereotype. And you don't want to be that guy. And I realized years later that I had become that guy. I just gotten out of IOC, the infantry officers course. I was literally down in Key West partying. I was like, I'm going to celebrate while I can. I just got out of this miserable Quantico Highlands where it was freezing the entire time. Like, I'm about to go to a platoon in 29 Palms, which at that point, I didn't know what 29 Palms was. I just thought it was California. So, yeah. So you guys know how green I am at this point, right?
Yes.
Like, this boot has no clue what he's doing. So I get a phone call while I'm down in Key West, and it's like, hey, you're going to Thoroughly R and you're going to Iraq. You're going to be a combat replacement. And I immediately was like, I don't really know what that means, but I got to go, guys. Like, I got to get out of here. And I got in my car and I left. And I just literally drove from Florida till I got to California, and I stopped and picked up stuff along the way. And so I get to California, and I get to Thoroughly R, and I had about a couple of weeks to kind of spin me up because I'm like, I don't know what an LAV is. And then, for those of you who don't know what LAR is, light armored reconnaissance, the big 6-wheeled vehicles, 28 tons. It's like got a sniper rifle, 25 millimeters. It's a cool thing to move around. Right. If you're an 03 leg guy, you look at that and you're like, they just don't want to walk, which is a lot of truth to that. But so I got there and I get over and they give me a plane ticket and they're like, hey, go to Iraq through Kuwait and get there and you'll link up with Thoroughly R. And I'm like, okay, that seems like a pretty good plan.
Oh, you poor bastards who are combat replacements. I feel so fucking bad for you guys.
Yeah.
Shit.
You have no idea, right? You see movies and you're like, oh, the lieutenant's coming in. Like, oh, this is going to be bad. But then you realize as you're going through the process, like, oh, this is hilarity. Like, we don't have a plan. So I get, the 22 hours over there. I get to Kuwait. I'm by myself. I've never deployed before. Normally when you go, like, you've got all your buddies around you in your one bag, and it's like, first sergeant's like, get your ass on the plane. Like, there's none of that. It's just me wandering around, trying to find my way into country.
Like, just so boot. Like, you're
So
a butter bar this time.
So boo. I can't even ask a question. Like, I can't even ask a
fuck.
question without somebody being like, don't talk to me.
Wait,
you know,
wait. So you graduated IOC. So you're a first lieutenant at this point, right?
No, I was second lieutenant.
Shit.
Less than a year out of college. Went right through. So it was like a 9-month cycle. And yeah, and went right in. Like my first, met the platoon in country. And that kind of came later. But yeah, I was in Kuwait and I literally didn't know how to get into Iraq. I was like, because most people just take a plane and you're all in the unit. I was just a guy and I didn't know anything. So I kind of wander around and start asking questions. And the next thing I know, and I'm completely jet lagged all over the map. Like I probably look like I'm crazy or drunk, and I'm just like, who is this guy? And this poor gunny. And I don't know his name. I can barely remember his face, but if he's listening, I just got to say thank you. This guy literally picked me out of the crowd and was like, come here, sir. Like, and sat me down and was like, here's some food. Here's some water. I'll get you on a plane. When you get there, talk to this person. And got me up, got me on the plane, got into Al-Assad, which was being mortared, by the way, when we landed. So, welcome to Iraq. Yeah, and I get off the plane, and there's a guy waiting for it. And, like, I would have never found my way to the unit. It would have taken weeks. Like, the lost lieutenant wandering around. Where's Milsap? Well, we still think he's lost somewhere in Kuwait. Between Kuwait and 29 Palms, we don't really know. And that gunny hooked me up and got me in. So thank you, gunny. I have passed it forward a couple of times to other second lieutenants who have been lost.
Lost in transit?
Lost in transit, yeah.
There you go.
And real quick too, I'll tell you that one of my favorite things as I sort of kind of got to be, a little bit more aware of what happens in the Corps. So a couple years later, and you guys know how this goes when you go from a line unit and then it's like you're going to H&S Company. Like, yeah. Okay, well, fuck. I guess you can take my gun now. I'm not going to need that.
Right. Right. You probably should anyhow.
Yeah.
So just for
yeah, exactly. So I got sent to H&S as the XO, like just the most thankless job in the unit, right? Like, hey, your next best thing is to be the safety officer, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. So, one of the things that I got to do is see Marines coming in every Monday morning. And, a lot of them would be waiting outside of First Sergeant's, office. And I started seeing this for weeks, and I was like, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to hear all the hilarity from the weekend. And so one by one, I would be like, hey, First Sergeant's busy. I need you to come in here and explain to me what happened. And I would just hear the craziest shit. And I'm like, this is Monday morning at 9 a.m. I'm like, this is great. This is like comedy hour. And finally, I got one that was like, sir, I got a tattoo. I'm like, well, you got to show it to me. He's like, sir, I don't think I can. I'm like, just show it. All right. And this dude, which I will leave nameless, but he's phenomenal, like just a phenomenal Marine and rock star. He got Chuck Norris wearing a Nintendo Power Glove, giving you the fist on his calf. It was amazing.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
A Nintendo Power Glove. Man. Why?
Holy shit.
I wanted to literally start writing like meritorious promotion goes to like, yes. You're like, how did you even think about that? Did it come in a dream?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So those are my awesome. 2 stories of hilarity.
So was it of his likeness? You were like, damn, that's Chuck Norris.
Oh yeah, you could totally see it. Beard and everything, hair flowing, and it's just the fist in front with all those lines coming up in the Power Glove, and you're like, yeah, that's my childhood wrapped up right there. Just awesomeness.
That's awesome. So this is like Delta Force Chuck Norris.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Hair flowing.
Oh. That's so epic.
Yeah. You can only imagine when he had to go out and take a PT test, and you're like, hey, what's that? And you're like, so it's Chuck Norris with a Power Glove. It's not a big deal. You're like, what?
All right, so check this out. It's definitely not as cool as that. but it's funny that you should mention that. My buddy Kenny D. Mm-hmm. We're at
nice
our
name,
right. So we're at our friend's funeral, which is sad. Yes, God rest you, Andrew, or as we knew him, Lunchbox. But we're hanging out, and we're at that point, like, this is the get-together at a park, there's trees, all of this other stuff, we're playing Frisbee out in the park, whatever, right? So the sadness is over.
Right.
We're all rocking these shirts that are all about Andrew, great, it's awesome, but it quasi-cheesy, and we know that a little bit, which is kind of cool. And Kenny D calls me over, and he was like, hey, man, did I show you my newest? And I'm like, no, what's up, man? And he stands back and shows me the right flank of his thigh. And it is Sylvester Stallone's face, smoking the nub of a cigar, wearing a beret with a goatee. And I was just, my hand, went to my mouth.
Wow. How do you even control the emotion at that point? You can't.
What? I couldn't control my bowels at that point, let alone emotion. Wow. I was like, dude.
That's never going away.
Is that?
Yeah, that's permanent.
That's what? You were fucking around in the shop with a fucking Sharpie or some oh, dude. And I love him. He's probably
phenomenal. And
dude.
You know what? I almost want to challenge them both. And I know the Chuck Norris guy is going to know he's going to know if he listens.
There you go. You got to share this with
you guys. Share that photo, or you put that photo together, and we'll judge them. We'll see who comes out on top.
There we go. I'm putting this down here.
Our first tattoo contest.
Exactly.
Cigars
it's not
and Sea
the Marine
Stories.
Corps without a tattoo contest.
Right. See, I got to write show notes.
That's hilarious.
Dude. And
what
Chuck
would be the
Norris. That's awesome. I met Chuck Norris one time. Good guy.
And you lived.
I lived. It was amazing.
Survived.
He had me. You know what? Have I told the Chuck Norris joke, the real one yet, Jocelyn, on any of the episodes?
I don't think so. Maybe early on, but no one remembers.
This is happening. So I got a photo side by side, arm in arm with Chuck Norris, and I got a flight glove, which I had a hand in whilst killing someone that he autographed. That is badass. And so I met him, and they were like, jealous a Chuck Norris joke kind of a deal. This is not him. This is the guy with the camera, okay? Right. And I'm like, yeah, and he's, I don't want to say a regular soldier. I don't know how else to put it. He's combat camera, but he's not combat camera. This dude flew in with a tripod. You know what I mean? Because Chuck Norris is here. And so I was like, oh, yeah. And I look at Chuck Norris, and I'm like, Chuck Norris's cock has a Hemi. Because he drove a Dodge around. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So what, in Walker, Texas Ranger or something?
Right. And dude, he lost it, man. He fucking lost it. Side-splitting laughter.
Oh, God.
And they were like, you can't say that. And so I had to tell him some other, wheat sauce one that I'm not even going to repeat, because that one's better.
You can't compare to that.
Exactly. Chuck Norris's cock is a Hemi.
Oh, man. He's remembered that one, too.
Yeah.
He hasn't forgotten that one.
Dude.
He probably got it tattooed on himself.
Yes. He's just got a Cummins motor.
Yes.
A Cummins. Yes. There it is.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes the game comes to you.
Right. Dude, I'll tell you what was epic. We were sitting there. Walt Laracy will remember this story. He was sitting in the VC spot, and I was in the gun because we just kind of threw together a crew that wanted to go meet this guy. And it was we were going to be there for an hour, grab chow, and then be gone. So Chuck comes walking out to the clearing barrels. I'm behind the Maud Deuce. And I throw a belt on, slap it shut. And then, rack. And, or no, excuse me. I look down. I'm like, you're a badass, Chuck Norris. And then I go condition one on the Maud Deuce. And it goes, you're a badass. I'm like, yes! Did you fucking hear that? Chuck Norris called me a badass.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, dude. Larry's
Can you imagine that on film?
Oh, dude. Larry's like, he didn't call you a menace. I was like, he called me a menace. Like, oh, dude. Literally, they were like, do you guys want to go see the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders or Chuck Norris? Not a single man wanted to go see the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
I believe it.
Not a what? Literally, every one of us were like, what are they going to do? Fuck us? Yeah. No. We're going to go see Chuck Norris. I'm not even going to, no.
And there's like 200 dudes packed in a room that's barely able to hold him just to even see him.
Right.
I think I saw him.
Dude, he snaked, the whole line snaked through, and we all got like photo ops and did all of this thing. He put in the time, man. It was cool.
Yeah.
Especially being in Ramadi, I was like, holy shit, dude. I'm shocked that this guy came here.
That's a good day.
Yeah,
dude. Chuck Norris and go condition 1.
Right?
I'll take that as a win.
Yes. Fun times, dude. Hell yeah. Gotta love it, man. That's the shit that, like, you're like, why do I do this job? And then every once in a while, like, cool shit like that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and then, you know, some people end up with a tattoo, and then it's permanent.
Right.
And they will never forget.
Dude.
Even if they're senile, those little
that
moments of clarity, they'll just be able to look down and be like, yeah, that happened.
Oh.
I love that it's the power glove.
Yeah.
Picture of like flying high and to the right, just giving it to a pinko commie mother bastard's jaw. You know, you're like, yes.
If anyone's got a picture of that tattoo, please send it in so that everyone can see it. It was just amazing. I literally didn't have any words for it. I was just like, if I can promote you, I will. I don't know how. I mean, I maybe an award, maybe, I don't know. We'll see what we can do. Don't even worry about first sergeant. Just get out of here. You're good.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like a bronze star for it or something.
Yeah.
Good.
Bronze star for best tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
The guy thought he was going to be shamed.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, there's nothing that you could do in order to, like, what would I do to fuck with you on top of this? Why would I ever do that? That fucking thing is on your leg forever.
Right.
You know, which is Kenny D and I, surprisingly enough, not to bring him up again, we both share a tattoo on the inside of our ankle that we did on one another. Now, this was in a tattoo shop. He was a piercer at the time. We had a professional artist who said, you know, everything up, blah, blah, blah. We were all good. But we were going to do it on each other. Nice. Right? Having zero experience, either one of us. And it's a bloody handprint with vampire teeth. So it's like a vampire Wilson, right, from Castaway. You know what I mean? So that when we're alone on the island, we at least kind of have each other.
Wow.
And I giggle whenever I put on my socks. But I would be laying there in the chair, and customers would come in. Now the owner was in on this bit here. Customers would be coming in, and I would just be like, wow! As Kenny's drilling on me. You know, and the customers are freaked out enough. They don't want to freaking, or maybe they want a tattoo, but they don't know whether or not, like, the pain is too much. Meanwhile, you know, I have tattoos. And Kenny looks up at this poor girl. She must have been, like, maybe 19. And she was going to get, like, a butterfly tramp stamp or with, like, a hip slap or something like that, right? She's like, does it hurt? And I'm like, and all he does is just press the pedal, and I start, you know, screaming, right? And Kenny's drilling on me, and he looks up and he goes, he does this with all of them, and then just goes back down.
Was this in 29 Palms?
No. Oh. This was actually back home in Michigan at the time.
Oh, nice.
Oh, God, it was so much fun. Yeah, Kenny was the guy that I grew up with.
Oh, yep. Nice. Right on, man. Yeah, it's funny, like, this is not for those of you that are starting a nonprofit, this is not the way to do it, but I actually got a tattoo of Ronin years ago, right? We didn't think the name was going to be Ronin. In fact, our mid-team call sign was Ronin. And, there was a bunch of us that were going through the MIT training that they had, which was just ad hoc stuff at that point because I didn't really,
Right.
It was like, hey, you're going on a MIT team. I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, you're going to go train Iraqis. I'm like, that sounds horrible. I'd rather stay with the platoon. And they're like, but it's okay. We're going to train you down here for 6 weeks. And you get down there and you realize like, wow, we got a tough mission ahead. And so
Right.
you really bond with that team. Right. And so it was me and full disclosure, there's four lieutenants, nothing can go wrong with that, hanging out on a Saturday night.
Jesus.
And
Right.
we're at Chadas in 29 Palms, right? So like the one place where we can sit down and like chill out.
Yeah.
Right. So
I've been in
we're
there
sitting
before,
there,
yeah.
we're just hanging out and we're getting ready to go over on the mid team. It's like, what do you guys want to do? And it's like, well, what if we got tattoos? And you're like, this sounds like a really bad idea. And about 2 hours later,
Yeah.
they were sitting in 29 Palms getting a tattoo.
Where?
God, I can't remember the name of the place. I mean, I will tell you this: it was within walking distance.
Was it over near 2 Mile Road? It had to have been.
Was.
You know the
It
Circle
had to have
K
been.
that's right there on 2 Mile?
Totally. It was
Okay.
right over there.
And then you go up, and it's near a Bible shop on the left-hand side.
Yes.
Shut the front gate. Did
Yes.
the guy have a stained glass sleeve?
Oh, I can't remember. I was the first one to go in, and I was like, not too low so that you can see it, but not too high so it looks weird. And before I even got done, he's like, eh. And now I have Ronin tattooed on my arm. So, fast forward a year ago when we're, in the midst of the biggest refugee crisis since World War II, we've got the captain, we've got this film. We're like just trying to make sense of this huge problem. And one of my co-founders, James, was on the mid team with me. Mm-hmm. And we're literally sitting there and we're like, dude, what do we do? And he's like, let's form a nonprofit. I'm like, that's a great idea. We can do it. We can fill the space. We can get the message out there. I'm like, what do we call it? He's like, well, we already got Ronin tattooed on our arms. I was like, well, that's a really good point. All right, let's call it the Ronin Refugee Project. And, it kind of fit because it was one of those things of the masterless samurai and the warriors and whatnot. But it was also that idea of, we've already built a team that knows this population. We've already done it once. We can do it again. And it's permanently on my arm. So, it's a win all the way around. But yeah, man, it's those bonds that you get and the tattoos sometimes that come along with them that make the Corps and make service worth every single second.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Hell yes.
So you were also in the Green Beret, though.
Yeah, I transferred over. I went to the dark side. And it's one of those things that, like, the best way I can describe it is I was one of those guys that always kind of wanted to do the mission. And, I was on the mid team, actually, and I'm pretty sure that I had just had my ass chewed for something, right? Like, I don't know what it was, but I had just, been chewed out, and I was walking back. This is up in Al-Qaim, and I'm walking over, and I go into the meeting there, and there's this guy that's got a full bushel of hair, massive beard. He's wearing a T-shirt. He's got a gun on him, and I'm like, who is that guy? And he gets up and he's like, hey, I'm Pete. Just want to let you guys know, we got everything covered. Da, da, da. And I was like, this is the coolest person I've ever met in my life, because I didn't get to meet Chuck Norris, so I'm like, this guy's pretty cool. And I walked over to him afterwards, and I'm just, I'm a lieutenant at this point. I got the high and tight, I'm pretty sure I had a clean uniform on. And I was like, hey, sir, I don't know who you are, but I just want to introduce myself. I'm Chase. I'm over on the mid team. He's like, yeah, hey, we're at the ODA, which, the SF unit that's here. Yeah, come on over anytime. And I was like, jaw on the floor, like,
right.
I don't really know what to say.
I'm not worthy.
And it was weird timing. Yeah, I'm not worthy. But it's weird timing too, because MARSOC at that point was like foreign military training unit. They hadn't really figured it out yet. And I remember coming to the guy that does the career stuff and being like, I want to go MARSOC. And he's like, yeah, no problem. You just got to do another 3 years. And I was like, what? No, that's not what I said. And so I had an opportunity to go to selection, SF selection, as a Marine. And I basically made a deal with my battalion XO. I was like, I will be your H&S company XO and your safety officer for however long it takes if you give me 30 days to go over to selection. And I did it, and I got in. And at that point, I transferred over from the Marine Corps, went into the SF pipeline, and did that for 5 years. I was in the Guard, so it was the 19th Group. And what was funny was I got on the team, and there's a bunch of Marines hanging out in the team room.
Right.
And it was like that have slowly found their way over, and I'm like, okay, I get it. And it was good. It was different in the Marine Corps. But I will tell you this, like, for those guys that have worked with SF, or worked with other special operations units, like that, you get it. I mean, the basics of what make you a good SF guy are the basic skills, basic infantryman skills, and having an understanding of that. And there's absolutely no way, 100% no way, that I would have been ready or survived as an SF guy without being a Marine first. No way. Because you just get the experience of what it means to be in a small team, and understand the tactics and stuff like that. So it was a weird path, but I'd never look back on it and say, man, I should have done this, I should have done that. I mean, it just kind of naturally fell that way. And I just left the Guard late last year so I could focus in on Ronin and getting the message out there about our allies.
Very cool. And what are those links again?
Yeah, so the best way to look at it is www.roninrefugeeproject.org, and Ronin's RONIN, and Refugee Project. And you can also follow us on Instagram at Ronin Refugee Project or on Twitter at Ronin Refugee. We've got some new stuff coming up too. For those of you, go onto our website and you can just type in your email, and you'll get updated on our newsletter and whatnot. But Mike, I don't know if I even told you this before we got on. Our film, just got picked up for the GI Film Festival here in DC next month.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's exciting.
We're going to be going to that.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. All right. Well, we'll see you guys there.
Hell yes.
Hell yes, man. We got to hang out.
We'll have to
That'll
do
be good.
a follow-up recording.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our
we'll be
boy.
there.
Sorry. What's up?
Go ahead, man.
Well, I just wanted to do a little shout out to our boy Wade Spann, who's a fellow Marine and a fellow grunt. He's actually on his way right now to my home, Fob Invictus, and he lives in that area, in the Falls Church area. So he's one of the crash pad bros. You know what I'm saying? That
Nice.
you go and visit and hang out with, and you're like, okay, let's go everywhere at once, because he grew up there.
Right on.
He's a good dude. He's a good dude. We'll hang out together.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. I'd love to hang out with you guys, and then I got the Ronin team coming into town too, so we'd love to hang out.
Very cool.
You gotta get yourself up on Saturday morning after Range 15 on Friday night, which I imagine is going to be spectacular, and all the stuff that comes out of that. But we're at noon on Saturday, the 28th, and they've got a bunch of shorts lined up, and I think ours is the first one. And you can come see the captain's story, and we'll walk you through the refugee process, and then you'll want to smoke some cigarettes and probably drink some whiskey afterwards, and we can probably make that happen. So.
Hell yes. No, there's a really good cigar shop around there, and then the NRA museum's around there, so we can go blast a few rounds.
That's awesome.
So I'll be strapped. I don't go into DC. I just you know how it is.
Yeah, I
just stay in Virginia.
Right.
So
right.
just packing all the time. And
That's
then
awesome.
I walk in there, I'm like, hello, I'm an instructor here. And pow, 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 pow. Oh my God, America, motherfucker. You're just like, I'd like to observe some liberty, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be a good trip, man. I haven't been back to the East Coast in a while, so it'll be good. It's going to be great to have a lot of vets, like yourselves, there getting together and just talking through, some of the stuff and some of the cool stories that are out there. And I'm excited about seeing some of the other work that everybody's done. There's some really, really cool stuff that are going on. So I'm excited.
Have you been before?
No, this is the first time.
So
for me. So I'm excited.
we're there to interview Marty Scoveland Jr. and Matthew Sanders, which he prefers Matt, I believe, before they did the Nomadic Veterans Project.
Oh yeah, those guys. That's awesome.
And it was cool because we knew them prior. Marty and I knew each other through EBV. We met through the Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for Veterans.
Yeah.
Similar network, and so he was running an Airbnb. We went and set up in the living room with him, and then later on went to the premiere, interviewed a little bit afterwards. I believe we captured some more audio afterwards, and then we cut out, I think it was the following day, and we got to see POW in advance and all of this other stuff. It was very, very cool. And then they won the Filmmaker's Choice Award.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
And it rocketed off.
It's awesome.
So it's so cool to be able to, hang out with all of those great people who are adding so much value to the world. You know what I mean? It'd be so awesome to just get together with everyone during that time frame. So, and I'm working right now to secure a retreat for us to hang out. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, we'll see what happens. No guarantees yet, but if we can get some retreat space, then we'll have some acreage to go play on, not too far outside of town.
I love it. Well, you let us know where and when, and what we can pick up along the way, and we're there. So,
cool.
Yeah, man, it'd be really cool to meet you guys and hang out and see all the other cool films that are up this year. So I'm excited because it's not only vets that are starting to enter in the film space, but really kind of starting to take films to the next level. And one of the things I hope we can do with ours is making a film has been a challenge. It's been difficult. It's pushed me personally and my brother through the editing process to our brink. But at the end of the day, we did it for a man so we can affect change. And that's what I really hope we can get out of this, is to sit down, and even if somebody just watches it and says, "Oh my God, I had no idea that it even existed," then that's a win. And and I told the captain, I said, hey, this is going to be a long road, and it's going to be probably as bad as every single day in Iraq. And he looked at me and he's like, "I know you're here to help, and let's do it." And he's like, "You're my brother." And so, being able to see where it's come this far, and hopefully here, as we keep pushing it, we can start looking at change and start talking about policies and what we can actually do to help these people. I mean, that's a win, and that's something that gets me up in the morning. So I'm excited about it.
Right on, man. Hell yeah. Well, that's awesome. And anything I can do personally to help, please, by all means, stay in touch. I'm passionate about your project as well. So I want to know what happens downrange with a lot of these different folks, because it's just weird not knowing.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. So I commend you in what you're doing. It's fantastic. So.
Well, I appreciate it, guys, and thanks for taking the time to let me come on and tell some stories and talk tattoos. So.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Well, right on. Listeners, if you haven't already done so, click subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Player FM. If you'd like, give us a review. We're trying to get higher up on there as far as iTunes, like the new and noteworthy and all of that other stuff. So reviews help. Thank you so much for our reviews who are on there, and we'll be giving shout-outs in the future. Quick shout-out to our sponsors. That's veteranslist.us. If you are a veteran-led business, you can get a featured membership 50% off. Again, that's 50% off with discount code Cigars and Sea. You can get a 10% discount code right now from Counter-Strike Coffee with discount code Cigars and Sea. And again, if you're a veteran-led business, we are an affiliate of First Data, and we would be honored to hook you guys up. They are the only credit card capture company that I've seen out there who are doing veteran-only business-oriented plans, and they go direct to the veteran owner. or the founder themselves, which is awesome. No merchant accounts, any rigmarole, blah, blah, blah. We'd be glad to hook you up. So, thank you so much to our sponsors. Chase Milsap, it's been an honor and a privilege, man. You're an awesome dude.
Thank you, gentlemen. Semper Fi, De Frosa Lever. I appreciate everything you guys do, man. You guys are killing it. Keep doing it, and we're going to run into you here pretty soon, hopefully.
Yet. Look forward to it, brother.
Keep adding value to the world. Jocelyn, cue the music, brother.